Hello, my friends. Welcome to the News Explainer channel, where I explain key concepts from current events. I'm Sheila Peuchaud, the News Explainer. This week, the Senate will begin former President Trump's second impeachment trial. He's charged with incitement of insurrection based on the events of January 6, 2021. That day, a mob stormed the U.S. Capitol to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's victory in the 2020 election. Today, I'm going to explain the arguments for and against impeaching President Trump now, even though he's already out of office. Here's what happened on January 6th. Then President Donald Trump gave a 70-minute speech a few blocks away from the U.S. Capitol building, in which he repeated claims that the election was stolen and told thousands of supporters to go to the Capitol and fight like hell. Shortly after his speech, some members of the crowd headed to the U.S. Capitol building, broke through a relatively weak police presence, and many entered the building carrying weapons and attempted to find the senators and representatives, making violent threats. Thankfully, the members of Congress, their staff, and Vice President Pence were all evacuated before they could come to harm, though many of them and their staff described really traumatic experiences and fearing for their lives. Over the course of the day, 5 people died, including one Capitol Hill police officer who died after rioters beat him over the head with a fire extinguisher, and one rioter who was shot by a Capitol Hill police officer as she tried to enter the chamber of the House of Representatives. The articles of impeachment drawn up by the House of Representatives argue that Donald Trump incited this mob by lying about the election for months and then getting his followers pumped up to fight Congress. But still, he's out of power now, so why spend time and effort impeaching him? Why not just let the guy retire to Florida and play golf? Indeed, President Trump's defenders, his lawyers, and his supporters in Congress argue that impeachment is meant to remove presidents from office, not to punish them once they're already out of office. So it's just political theater and probably unconstitutional to do it now, according to his defense team. Those arguing in favor of Donald Trump, mostly Democrats, but a few Republicans as well, have 3 main arguments for impeaching Donald Trump. The first is that presidents swear an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States from the first day of their presidency until the last. If you think about it, the only time a president would try to violently overturn an election is when they have very little time left in their administration. But that shouldn't be a get out of impeachment free card to try anything and everything at the very last minute. The second reason that Congress impeached is to signal that Congress will use its constitutional powers to defend itself if attacked. Okay, but still, Donald Trump is out of office, so isn't impeachment sort of a waste of time? Well, yes and no. It's true, impeachment can't remove him from office because he's already out. However, he could still run for president again in 2024 and potentially win. If the Senate votes against him, though, then they could hold a second vote to decide if he should be permanently banned from ever holding federal office, including the presidency. So, to recap, the 3 arguments for impeaching Donald Trump, even though he's out of office, are 1. Inciting the mob to attack Congress was a terrible betrayal of his oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, even though it happened at the very end of his presidency. 2. An attack on Congress requires a strong response from Congress. And 3. Impeachment allows the Senate to vote to bar him from ever holding office again. If they don't impeach, they can't hold that vote. So, what are the arguments against impeaching him? His defense is arguing that it's unconstitutional to impeach a president once he's out of office. Legal experts have different opinions about this. I hope this video helped you understand the arguments for and against the Senate holding an impeachment trial even though Donald Trump is already out of office. Thank you again for watching the News Explainer. where I explain key concepts from the news so that you can be a more informed citizen and news consumer.